Welcome to Film Riot Mondays. Today I'm answering questions that you submitted about Ballistic, but before we get into that, we are selling limited edition posters of our 3 posters done by Adam Rabelais. They are on the store right now. We are only selling them from now until July 7th, and then we will never be selling them again. So just this one run, and that's it. So if you do dig the posters and you want to show us some support so we can go on to do other stuff like this in the future, jump over to our store, link in the notes below, and get one or all of them, whatever you want. You know, you're the master of your own kingdom. We're also going to be releasing a special features pack for Ballistic, which is going to have like over 4 hours of the on-set experience, director's commentary, VFX breakdowns, all kinds of stuff. The script will be in there as well. So it's going to be packed full with more stuff than we've ever put into any one of these special feature packs before. So definitely make sure you check that out towards the end of the week. We'll talk more about that on Thursday's episode. But now let's jump into some questions. Which special effect was your favorite? Why? The smaller things are always my favorite. The big stuff is really cool too, of course, but it's the small stuff like little bits of fire lying around that make everything feel real, or the windshield hits in the beginning when the driver gets shot, or us breaking the window to the car for her to get the stuff out of it. It's the moments like that that are always my favorite, because it does add so much so subtly. You don't really think about it, but if it wasn't there, it wouldn't all feel as tied together and real as it does thanks to those things. Hey Ryan, what was the hardest part of the production process and why? All of it was the hardest part. It was the biggest moving beast that we've ever had to control from a logistical standpoint, story, everything involved was very difficult to juggle how we were doing it, because again, this cost maybe 1/5 what it should have. So trying to be that ambitious and pull off what we did, not even having, you know, 1/4 of the money that we really needed to pull this thing off properly, and still trying to pull it off properly, made all of that 10 times harder. As a director, I would say that action scene where it kicks off with the slow-mo fireball was probably the most difficult, because I had to completely throw out the shot list, which is usually fine and I have to do all the time, but this is an action scene with about 7 or 8 people involved, all in different locations, having to keep that geography in mind and make sure it's all going to cut and be coherent in the end, without being able to get all the coverage that I would want to get because of the time restraints we have, while having a few really big gags and you know, potentially dangerous stunts happening and special effects happening. So keeping all of that in mind, completely throwing out a shot list and making it up as I went along with about 7 cameras in play definitely was a massive challenge. What was the hardest scene for you to pull off? I think it still definitely was that action scene that I talked about before, but the ending outside bunker scene where she's having Nate take her daughter with him was really tough to pull off as well, because we had such a short amount of time to do it, which is always the case, but this was even more amplified because we had an underage actress, which means she had a hard out at midnight, and by the time it got dark, it was almost 9 p.m., and then we still had to finish the lights a little bit more. So by the time we got started, we had maybe 2 hours total to pull off that entire scene. And then once we got to that final moment between the two of them where the mother kneels down, we only had about 20 minutes, so we were just running to get that done. And we did, but there, you know, I had to throw out most of my coverage again, which is always, I say it so much, it's pretty much always the case. I'm always throwing out my original idea of coverage and just making it up on the fly. I still, you know, will shot list and things like that, because it is nice to have that initial idea to fall back on, or to reference what was I originally thinking, or to use sort of as a checklist of, yeah, I got something similar. But I usually do not stick to the shot list at all. And in Ballistic, I don't know that I did any of the shot list. I think it was all pretty new. So I guess I'll add that one into the mix. So the 2 hardest scenes were the main action scene and that final outside bunker scene. I was wondering if you could talk about the ambiguity of the end of your short, or just that type of storytelling in general. Some of my favorite short films are short films about a moment that don't really answer this greater whole. Why is this happening? Where does this go after this? I don't think short films need to do that. I don't think that's what they're best at. There's definitely some that do, but some of my favorite of all time do not do that. All Nash Edgerton's short films, Dan Track Trachtenberg's Portal No Escape, which I think is a terrific short film, is more of a moment in time, but it's about so much more. And I've always been a fan of that sort of storytelling when it comes to short films. When it comes to features, it's a totally different story. I don't really write that way with features that I'm working on, but the short films are more like that, sort of like a horror movie. You don't need to know where the monster comes from all the time. That's not what it's about. This is more of a short film about ideas underneath the surface and about an emotional arc. And by leaving it open-ended at the end, hopefully you're going back and you're thinking about the rest. Like, why are her shoes red? Why is her mother's shirt red, but nothing else is really red? What's up with the infinity necklace? And a lot of people have got it. A lot of people don't. You know, it's all subjective. Some people are going to dig it. Some people aren't. But I look at it like this. You don't really have a complete beginning. You don't really have a tied up ending that explains what completely is going on, even though tons of clues have been given to you. And I look at it sort of like this. Imagine you're at a coffee shop minding your own business. A couple walks in, at least you assume is a couple, a man and a woman, and they're arguing. It's a pretty bad argument. They have some heavy digs on each other. They get in line. They don't stop arguing. They're very loud. One of them says something about some other woman. So now you have thoughts going through your head. Then you notice one of them has a wedding ring on and one does not. They get to the counter and the guy behind the counter, Jack, is trying to take their order. But now they're taking out what they have going on between them on Jack and being extremely rude, to where finally Jack's manager comes up behind them and stops them and tells them they can either calm down, treat Jack with respect, or they can leave. So they calm down. They take the order. Jack goes off and starts making their drink. They continue arguing, saying a few things here and there that's cluing you in even more and sparking ideas of what could possibly be going on in your head or how long it might have been going on. Something about a text message. Well, then Jack puts their drinks on the counter and the girl freaks out. This has whip on it. She did not want whip. And the guy wigs out on Jack, again, taking out what's going on between them on Jack. And here comes the manager to defend Jack again. But before he gets there, Jack stands up for himself, tells them they could take the drink and leave, or they could calm down and he could fix it. They calm down, they respect Jack, they leave. Now, you don't know where it started, you don't know where it ended, but was that a story? Yes, you're going to go and you're going to tell everybody that you see that day about these crazy two people that walked in, and you're going to have all these theories about why they were arguing, what was happening, the fact that you noticed yourself that one had a wedding ring, one didn't. But really the story was Jack finding the strength to stick up for himself in that moment. You know, the manager pointed it out to him in a way that, you know, he didn't have to take that. And then when the push came to shove again, Jack stood up for himself, and that was the emotional arc of it. And that's kind of how I look at short film storytelling. Domain.com has all your website needs, including .com and .net domain names and intuitive website builders, so you can start creating your identity online. They're affordable, reliable, and have the tools you need to start building a website and sharing your ideas with the world. No domain extension is going to help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. And if you want to brand yourself online, Domain.com has over 300 domain name extensions to fit your needs from .club to .space. Of course, they're giving you 15% off their already affordable prices when you get domain names, web hosting, and email. Just use the coupon code FilmRiot at Domain.com's checkout. And when you think domain names, think Domain.com.
Logo.
So that's it for today, which means it's time for my suggestion of the week. And this is not a short film or anything to do with filmmaking. This is security footage that someone cut together of this couple trying to rob a gas station and it just going horribly wrong. It is hilarious and wonderful. So definitely check that out in the links below. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.